Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bagmen Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 15. Moving right along, Stock. I don't think we're going to hit the 25 that we hit last semester.
It's still young
but, you
in the
know,
year.
it's possible.
We've still got time.
We've got our guest with us today is Mr. Williams from the middle school, coming on up to the high school.
A new Trojan this year.
Yeah, this will be exciting. Stock,
Yes.
what happened in the past week? Anything noteworthy since we've been gone?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I am putting this link on Facebook.
Oh, for the live? Hey,
Yes.
if you're watching this now, go to Facebook and share.
No, maybe Peggy will see it.
Yes, or Zach in Delaware.
I'll let you say that one. Max, we've had him on before. Max.
Yeah, Max Thurman, friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
Hockey player. He organized all of the charitable hockey games this past season.
He and his wife. Don't forget, player of the game.
He and his wife.
Yes.
He and his wife.
Yes.
Max played in a special game over the weekend for autism.
Oh,
And he said,
I had not heard of this.
Yeah, he said he had an amazing time. His team won, of course.
Obviously,
They've got
they had the
Max.
best. They had the best goalie.
They've got Max.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, good for him.
Is that over at Danville? I'm assuming.
I'm not sure if it was at Danville or if he had to travel somewhere,
Oh, okay.
but he had a great time.
The place I'm really looking forward to being finished is a place in Fishers. Have you seen that?
I've actually been there
Oh my goodness,
when
it's
I learned curling.
gorgeous.
Mhm.
Absolutely gorgeous. They're
Yeah.
going to start playing Indie Fuel games there.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Last week, of course, was the eclipse.
The eclipse. I didn't gain special powers, so thought about not coming into work.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time.
Chris Bruner and I went to Chad's backyard in Brownsburg.
Yeah, because you got more of the eclipse there, right?
Yeah. And you had a cookout.
I had a cookout. We had hamburgers, hot dogs in the backyard.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
What'd you do for the eclipse? Anything?
Actually, I was home.
That's what we did.
I was on my patio, and even though I'm in Cayuga, and even though we didn't have the full thing, there was a moment like right when it was happening, when all of a sudden like the lights went dim.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden there's just
Yeah.
and that was really bizarre.
Yeah, it was more eerie than,
Yeah.
than anything, I think, around here anyway. Kind of crazy. Our dogs finally got quiet for a couple minutes. So that was really nice. Maybe we need to have more eclipses.
It only happens every eclipse.
Eclipse eye. I don't know how to plural, make that plural.
Eclipses.
Eclipses.
Okay. You can talk about this one because you knew him better, Paul Schumpert.
Yeah. Crazy news. I got a call from my mom the other night that said my elementary gym teacher, super well-known guy. He'd been with the corporation for a long time, but he retired 21 years ago. Mr. Schumpert, Paul Schumpert, passed away. And there wasn't a service, there wasn't a visitation or anything like that. It was very quiet.
It was last month, wasn't it?
It was last month, yeah. And we just found out about it.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, the week before it happened, we were down at the pancake breakfast down in Park County, celebrating the maple syrup and all that kind of stuff, because us type 2 diabetics, we celebrate the maple syrup. And we saw him. He was hanging out with Marilyn Shunkweather, a former elementary school teacher here, and they did stuff together and had fun, as old retired teachers do. And got to talk to him for a little while, and he said that he had been retired for 21 years, and he was 81 years old. So he retired at 60, and then he'd just been enjoying his life for the last 20-some years, and he had died of sepsis the next week.
Wow.
So, I have nothing but nice things to say about him. He was always really great to me, really great to the classmates. But Mr. Schumpert passed away. So if you are my age or older, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So if you do come across his family, wish them well. But very private guy, very private family, and they didn't have any services or anything. But we did want to mention that because, he was a Trojan through and through. He was a Covington person through and through, and you just want to recognize that. So that's that, Stock.
Those of you who know Terry Field, he's battling cancer. Right now, he's having some medical difficulties. He's up in Lafayette. So those of you who are of praying nature, pray. If you're not, just send out good vibes. Whatever your belief system tells you.
Yeah, and I've said this before, Stock, but he's always got a special place in my heart because when I got really sick, and we've already mentioned it this podcast, when I was really sick and I was in the hospital for a couple weeks, He
In
and Anita.
Crawfordsville.
He and Anita were the first ones that came up and visited
In
me.
Crawfordsville.
In Crawfordsville, yes. Yeah. He and Anita were the first people that weren't family members that came and visited me, and they spent some time with me and were very encouraging and just uplifting. And it's really hard having Anita gone now and seeing Terry struggle. But like Stock says, if you're of the praying nature, send a shout out to him. He's a good dude, and we're hoping good things for him.
Yep.
Anything else that we need to catch up on, Stock?
That's all I have for catch up. My other things are rant and future things.
Rant and future thing. The future thing is the rant. One last thing I did want to mention tonight, starting at 5 o'clock, is the only home middle school track meet this year.
Oh, we should all go.
Well, I might have to work it. So so let's pump the brakes on that one, Stock.
Okay.
Andrea did ask for help last week. Andrea Ragsdale, she's a track coach for the middle school. The problem they're running into is there's a high school track meet tonight, and they usually have high schoolers help with the middle school.
Yeah.
So they're going to be short. That's
Okay.
not anybody's fault. It's just kind of how it happens. So if you can get out there and Andrea still needs help with field events. I've already had my lunch, so I might have to do that anyway. Over the weekend, the last thing I want to mention, the elementary school play choir, whatever it was, had their performance. My niece was in it, so I was there anyway, and I got conscripted into light duty.
Of course you did.
So we helped with lights. Alan Lynch, as always, did a fantastic job with sound. The kids did a great job. Very short show, but very well done for what we were there. It was like 30, 35 minutes.
I did peek into the NPR and the backdrop that they used. Do you know what that backdrop was?
That backdrop is from the one Javi did last year.
I'll take your word for it.
It's, give me a little Annie.
I'll take your word for it.
It is, yes.
I think they based it on the grand staircase at the Opéra Garnier in Paris.
Oh, of course. He would have to get his French in here.
Well,
Get your filthy French out of here. What is that? Is that famous?
you'll make it famous.
Ominous. Ominous. All right. Anything else we need to catch up on, Stock?
Catch up? No.
It hasn't been 2 months this time.
It hasn't.
I did want to give a shout out to Mr. Cheddar. Popped in the chat last time.
Yes. Yes.
Said that we hadn't broadcasted for 2 months, and that popped his algorithm, popped it up to one of his, hey, you need to watch this kind of things. So I didn't get to it at the end of the last show because I didn't see it early enough, but he did comment. Nice to hear from Mr. Cheddar. Best of luck to Mr. Cheddar.
Hope you're doing well,
Yeah,
Alex.
thanks for watching. Love it. I love seeing like former colleagues. I know Mr. Cross still watches as well, so it's good to see.
Good.
All right, let's bring on our guest, Doc.
Okay.
This is your recruit, so you can introduce him. Go ahead.
I'm bad at introductions.
This is your chance to practice.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
And a hush falls over the crowd.
It's Greg
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Williams. Okay. I was
So-
thinking Wilson because of Walt Wilson.
what-
He's been having some trouble.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's
Yeah, that's neither here nor there.
that's not
Yes.
Trojan material. Okay. Greg Williams, grandfather of a couple of one of our students, the other one's graduated. You are new to Covington, but you're not new to teaching. You're one of our not elementary. I'm telling you, after 3 o'clock, my brain shuts down.
Elderly,
It really does.
elderly. Is that what you were trying to go for?
No. One of our middle.
He's falling apart.
Now I'm all verklempt. Now, 8th grade English, which is, I think, one of the more difficult English levels because you have to finish up the middle school years, make sure they're ready for high school.
You kind of
But-
transition to the big
Yeah,
leagues.
But we were talking before we started broadcasting. It sounds like you're a pro at that.
Well, I hope so. I'm a little concerned about the iLearn the testing coming up
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Because you walk into the main hallway there in the middle school building, and there are charts up on the wall with how students have done last year,
Yeah.
and I don't want my little chart to be much smaller than what's there already.
You don't want to dip in the slope?
Yeah, I don't want to dip. So, as we've gotten closer to this time, I've I've been sweating it a little bit. But you're right. Teaching 8th grade, I'm very much interested in making sure that they're ready for that transition to the high school. And so that's an extra challenge to it. But
Yeah. That's a fun age. It's an interesting age.
we used to have a 9-week rotation course where kids would take 9 weeks of French. In one year, they would take 9 weeks of French, then home ec, then music, then whatever. And the next year, they would take 9 weeks of Spanish.
You like how he used the whatever, which was my class? Seriously? Did you really just do that? Was that intentional?
Also, Scott.
Okay, there we go. So he forgot Mr. Myers and myself. I love it. That's
any
funny,
case,
Stock. That's funny.
No, for a long time I taught 8th grade, and then they
that's
switched
great.
and gave me 7th grade, and the 8th graders took Spanish. 7th graders were a handful. 8th graders were a lot easier to manage, I think. And it's amazing how much kids that age can grow in 1 year, grow and change.
I think, 7th grade is often referred to as the middle child of middle school, which is, about the worst you can get, I suppose. It's like the Jan Brady of, But 8th grade, I also find, now that I've been doing this for over 40 years, that 8th graders have a lot more knowledge about certain subjects anyway that they didn't have when I was that age or when I first started teaching. And so they're new challenges, and technology is another issue that comes up sometimes. A focus on almost an addiction to, and they hear me rant about that from time to time.
I was going to ask, how much technology do you use, or are you more pencil and paper? Do you like the classics?
I do still write on the whiteboard, with the dry erase marker and everything. I just like that instead of, and I suppose if I'm at this for another 5 years or something like that, I will probably try to put everything on the actual screen. But for right now, I just, I like writing a lot of it out. I do use the board for, video and illustrations and everything. But
there's just something about the tactile nature of actually writing something out.
Yeah,
too,
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And speaking of video, you were showing your kids West Side Story a couple of
a little
months ago.
clip of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Well, and it was kind of along with The Outsiders. We were just talking about gang violence, and although it's a musical, but I wanted to kind of show them another type of gang story, and
that's pretty interesting.
That fits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly fits.
Absolutely. So we'll move into. I got a story from you, Stock.
Yes.
As to something you'd heard about presented.
Yes.
And kind of led to this whole experience today. So you want to bring that in?
Well, our legendary home economics teacher, Miss Carolyn Davis, she was having her baby time.
Was it Think It Over, Baby? Is that what it's called?
I don't know what it's called. I call it I Hate These Baby Times.
I didn't have any this year in my class, which is great.
But there's a lot. If you are thinking about having a baby, there's a lot you need to think about.
Baby, think it over.
Yeah, call Miss Davis. She will tell you everything you need to think of. But there are a lot of serious issues that come up, both health issues and also abuse issues, unfortunately. And you presented to Miss Davis's class on one of the issues of abuse.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that all about?
And that'll bring us into Child Abuse Prevention Month as well. So
Yeah.
Yes. So it was perfect timing. Yeah, my granddaughter Ainsley contacted me and said, "Hey, Grandpa, would you be my project for this?" And I didn't realize I was a substitute for the crying baby 24 hours, but I was happy to do it. Yeah, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and the third week in April is usually designated specifically as Shaken Baby Syndrome Awareness Week within that month. So I talked about that particular topic because our family was affected by a shaken baby case, and it really changed the projection of our lives since that
Sure.
time. On July 2nd, 2006, Sunday, my wife and I got a phone call that our first grandchild, a little 2.5-year-old girl named Reagan, was in the hospital in Danville in the emergency room. She had lost consciousness at home, and so we rushed to the emergency room. By the time we got there, she had already passed away.
Oh my.
And an autopsy was done fairly quickly, and it was determined that she died from a form of child abuse called shaken baby syndrome. It's also known as abusive head trauma. And it is a serious traumatic brain injury that is caused when a frustrated adult caregiver violently shakes a child. Often it happens because the baby won't stop crying, for instance, or because Reagan was 2.5, so she was not a baby anymore. But often it will be caused by some kind of oppositional behavior or a tantrum or something like that. We don't know exactly what led to this particular example of it, but she was violently shaken. And when that happens, if you watch football, all these football stars, many of them have gone on to have serious brain injuries,
Oh, yeah.
everything, or result of their injuries as players. And inside a baby's or a young child's skull, the brain is, if you shake a child violently enough, that brain is just going back and forth and hitting the skull side, and it causes bleeding inside, hematomas, and it can lead to a whole range of health issues. Mental retardation, cerebral palsy,
Oh, sure.
learning disabilities, the inability to walk, the inability to eat on the child's own, hearing loss, blindness, and in the worst cases, death. And that's what happened with Reagan. So very soon after this occurred, and after the initial grieving was done, the family got together and said, we don't want Reagan to be just another child abuse statistic. We want her to be a cause, and we decided to create an organization called Reagan's Rescue. And its mission, twofold: spread awareness of shaken baby syndrome, abusive head trauma, and also to meet the needs of families and children at risk in the Ileana area, where
Sure.
we were located. So that began a whole new chapter of our lives. Of course, we're all still, we're going to school, and my wife and I are working and everything. But we also started this project of a lifetime, really, to try to put the word out. And there was just a whole list of steps, from coming up with a logo, to creating a business card, to creating a website, fundraising that we had to do.
Sure.
We put billboards up in Danville area, advertising on sides of buses. We did commercials, radio PSAs, and so forth. Just talking to groups, educational groups, church groups, medical professionals, talking about this particular form of child abuse. And it started to take us out of this area to across the state, and also eventually we hooked up with the National Center on Shaken Baby Syndrome, which is located in just outside of Ogden, Utah. And every 2 years, that organization has an international conference, mostly in the United States, but they kind of go from every 2 years to another major city.
Yeah.
And we started presenting workshops there on how to create an organization like Reagan's Rescue that we had created. Because it happened very, very quickly for us.
Yeah.
So we did that for a long time. Our first one was in Vancouver, and then we went to Atlanta, Denver, Boston, Montreal, and Philadelphia, the last one. And the next one is coming up this coming fall, and that will be in Utah again, in Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, congratulations on what you've been able to achieve.
Well, COVID kind of
Changed everything.
changed everything for a little bit. I mean, we had a lot of speaking engagements that we had lined up, and we had to cancel all of them. And then, it was after COVID, it was very slow in getting everything started again. But
right.
now we've started to have, we've started to talk to groups. And I also have done several podcasts, one from the National Center. And then I also got contacted from a couple in England that do a podcast. It's called The Silent Why, and it's a podcast about grief. And they are searching for 100 different kinds of loss.
Oh,
it doesn't necessarily have to be loss through a death, like bereavement, but it could be loss of a job, loss of a marriage, loss of a limb, loss of eyesight.
All right, that's about
here we
half
go.
of you, Craig.
And so they kind of take each guest and talk through what the loss was, what the grieving process was, how you come back with hope and try to get your life back together and everything. And so I got a call from them asking if I would be willing. They had heard our story, and if I'd be willing to talk to them about it. Was a grandfather talking about the loss of a grandchild.
Oh, yeah.
So they had never had that particular topic there. And since then, the couple, Chris and Claire, have become pretty good friends.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's awesome.
Tell them we're all losing our printers, so we could all go on their podcast and talk about that.
We'll give a shout out to that website real quick. That's, what is it? Let me see, I just looked it up. Reagan'sRescueFund.com.
Yeah.
Yes, Reagan with an REA.
Yeah, REA, like Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
Yeah, you can just Google Reagan's Rescue,
Yes.
and it's there. And one of the pages we have gives, kind of starting at the bottom of the page and going up, and 2 columns of everything we have done since
that's
really
exciting.
2007, when we actually got going, talking to going to Springfield and talking to legislators there, and the Department of Children and Family Services director there, to try to change some of the policies that DCFS had there in Illinois, and I'm sure similar policies probably in Indiana, about how to put in an anonymous report on child abuse and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have been extremely busy. The whole time I've been keeping a journal for Reagan. In fact, I kept journals for all 12 of my grandchildren now. a much bigger undertaking than I ever thought it would be. But I started keeping a journal for Reagan when she was still alive. And after she died, I said to my wife, I really want to continue writing to her. And it became kind of therapy for me. But eventually, I compiled all of those journal entries into a book that I had published on the 10th anniversary of her passing. So that was kind
Oh,
of
wow.
a benchmark, as well. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Is the book available on the website?
It is available through like Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
called Reagan's Rescue: A Grandfather's Journey, A Grandfather's Journal, and it's mostly journal entries with some wraparound commentary and so forth
Very cool.
as well.
Hey, who knew we had such a resource here, Stock?
I know, this is incredible.
Yeah. So just a inquiring minds kind of question
Sure.
that relates to shaken baby syndrome and like that kind of idea. Is it more common for first time parents for shaken baby, or is it just overall universal?
Anyone who is frustrated enough,
Sure.
young parents, grandparents, babysitter, someone who has a daycare,
yeah.
that happens as well sometimes.
Sure.
Anyone can be driven to that point of frustration when they just, if I just shake a child, maybe it will stop crying. Most victims are under 2 years of age, and there are more male than female victims. And I think part of that is because of that old-fashioned notion that, boys should not cry kind of thing.
Yeah.
There are about 1,200 to 1,500 cases, reported cases of SBS every year, not counting, the ones that go unreported.
Right.
So I did talk for a while. I would talk to like parenting groups, and of course, there are more male perpetrators, and of the males that are around children, often it's and it was true in our case, it was the boyfriend of the mother.
Yeah.
My son and his then girlfriend, they were Reagan's parents, and they ended up kind of splitting up, although they did share parenting duties and everything. So we got to see Reagan a lot. But she ended up moving in. Reagan's mother ended up moving in with someone else, and the boyfriend was the perpetrator here. And so that is very, very common too.
Yeah. Those are the cases that I hear
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If there were advice that you could give someone, like one thing to do before you get to that, what would you tell them?
Well, because of the frustration that people often have, you just put the child down. A baby cannot die from crying. Put the child down, walk away, get some fresh air, call someone up to help. But shaken baby syndrome is 100% preventable.
Yeah.
And you never shake a baby or child. There are, if you go to the website, our website, there is a page devoted to handling babies crying, like what to do. It gives you kind of a list. And there are a couple of programs that we also talk about, the period of purple crying, which gives like younger parents especially kind of information that, hey, this is a baby, the baby is going to cry a lot.
That's a normal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and there may not be any reason you can really discern why the baby is crying. There's going to be certain times of day when the baby will cry more than others and so forth. So that's on there. And then there's also, I've met this man. He is like a magician, Dr. Harvey Karp. He is known internationally for creating what's called the 5 S's, and it's a way of soothing a child into sleeping. And it talks about it on the website. It involves swaddling the baby very tightly and shushing it very loudly and kind of putting the baby on the side and swinging back and forth. I have seen in real time, in a room with him and a crying baby, I have seen him put this baby to sleep in just like a matter of minutes.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
yeah. So that is on there too. And I
Okay,
think
very cool.
anyone who's, let's have a child, but doesn't really know exactly what to expect,
Yeah.
probably needs to check that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Big
especially in
responsibility.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially being so preventable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Stock?
Yes.
Anything else? Like that's a pretty powerful topic.
It is.
Had Mr. Williams not been on the show, we wouldn't have known we had such a popular celebrity
Yeah, a
resource
celebrity
here.
guest.
But wow, powerful message. Yeah.
Very powerful. Is there a way you can
Yeah,
promote this?
I'll put that in our description.
Well, promote it on YouTube so it gets on everyone's
Yes.
front page.
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll put
Okay.
everything in the description. So a link to the book,
Okay.
a link to the website. I've already brought up the website during the show, and I'll throw it out to the chat as well.
Okay.
That's something people need to know about,
Yeah.
especially if you are we have a lot of young parents or getting ready to be parents here at
Yep.
the school corporation that, like you said, at the end of the day, you're tired, you're exhausted, your brain kind of shuts off. And if you have that education, you have that training and background, this is like Mr. Williams said, 100% preventable.
100%.
You know? So great resources. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. So Miss Davis's class got a big education as well, it sounds like.
And I think Ainsley got an A on the project.
Well, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Now, you said April is Child Abuse Month?
Child
Awareness.
Abuse Prevention Month.
Prevention Month.
Right.
Well, Child Abuse.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
No.
No.
The third week is for shaken baby
Usually
syndrome?
the third week has been kind of set aside for shaken baby syndrome awareness.
Do you know what the other weeks are?
I don't.
Okay.
I guess I should. But I'm kind of focused on.
Yeah,
And of
laser
course, there's another month.
The interwebs will tell us.
October is domestic violence awareness month as well. And so, domestic violence is a large umbrella and everything. Child abuse is under that umbrella. So then it just kind of trickles down into
Sure.
the other specific kinds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And of course,
there's
October 27th is
what is October 27th?
Craig.
I might have to go to
All right.
myself.
It's my birthday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we knew you were trying to put away with that. We're not going to let into you, Stock.
Then I'll just have to announce it.
Oh, jeez. Start it now. Start the party now, Stock. Yeah, Stock's birthday. Goodness. There's so many resources on this.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I'm sure it's here, but it
Yeah.
would take a while to find it.
Yeah.
Just everyone be nice to babies.
Well, how about I look for it and you start your rant, Stock?
Oh, can I rant?
Do you have a rant?
I do.
All right. Let's hear it.
Now, we know that I have a new vehicle this year, a Grand Cherokee.
Yes.
It
We're
already
not sponsored.
not sponsored. It already needs work done on it.
Yeah. That sounds more like a skill issue.
I have learned that because Jeeps are intended to be off-road fun vehicles, the windshields are at a certain angle that does not reflect stones as well as other vehicles, and so it's already got a cracked windshield.
Wow. Oh, well, that's better than mechanical issues.
Well, yeah, it is, but
Yeah.
3 months.
Stock.
3 months and a broken windshield.
I only drive used cars, and I think every car I've ever owned has a crack in the windshield. There is one that's glaring right in my eye right now in the Focus. Not sponsored.
Can I do rant number
You're
2?
still on, bud. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Rant number 2. Is it an industry standard that the Driver's side windshield wiper has to leave a smear right where you need to see.
Jeez. I think this is a you issue as
No,
well.
every single
Good
car
night.
I've ever driven, every single windshield wiper
Oh my
smears
gosh.
right there.
Oh my gosh. You would.
That's the very spot too where the largest bug,
Yes, yes.
ever has to, leave its yellow guts
Yes,
right
yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
That is fair. No McDonald's rants this time, Stock?
Um,
I'm sure something is
put napkins in the bags, please.
napkins in the bags. Man, shots fired. Shots fired. That brings us into our next big area, our next big topic,
Okay.
which I think everybody here at the table is familiar with. Travel. Stock, you're kind of our resident travel guy
Well,
at the table typically.
only when I have to be.
Only when you have to be. Are you doing the Paris this year?
I am going on the Darlier trip this year.
All right. Well, this will be a good little transition for us into the travel section. So
Okay.
give us some info.
We usually spend 3 weeks in Aix-en-Provence where the kids take classes.
Aix-en-Provence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do weekend trips. Did Aubrey tell you about one of the weekend trips?
Oh, geez.
Probably if I,
We had to call the ambulance.
Oh, no.
All I'm saying, everyone, if it's 100 degrees, do not skip breakfast and drink water.
yeah.
Oh, no.
Otherwise, something called dehydration
That's
is going
right,
to set
fair.
in.
And that's a couple week trip?
A whole month.
A whole month?
month,
Oh,
yeah.
my.
We spend 3 weeks in Aix-en-Provence, about 4 days in Paris, and then 4 days in Normandy to see the beaches and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
But
Okay. That's
this
cool.
year, the Summer Olympics are in Paris, and to get us out of Paris before the Olympians come in, we're going to flip-flop it and do Normandy, Paris, and then Aix.
Okay. I've got to ask you a
So,
question about that,
okay.
actually. That reminded me of something I
All
was
right.
going to ask you. So the river is called the Seine.
Yes.
How do you feel about them maybe not swimming in the Seine because it's too dirty? Have you not seen this?
They cleaned it up. They cleaned it up. If the Paris people say it's clean, it's clean.
Are they using that robot? Have you seen that robot? It was
I've seen a lot of
it
things
was
on the
it was
news.
human waste that they were worried about.
Oh, duh.
Yeah, oh, I figured. I mean, it's not news, but they were talking about not doing the triathlon with swimming in the Seine. I said it right though, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, pat on the back.
Well,
Good boy.
how many years did you take?
3?
You should be able to say something.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
just today, though, they have finished the outside renovation of the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Okay.
They are still waterproofing the spire and the roof. The inside still has some work to do, but Emmanuel Macron, when the fire, this is the anniversary, 5-year anniversary of the fire at Notre Dame today. Yeah.
5 years already.
2019.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. Emmanuel Macron said, we will have this rebuilt by the Olympics in 2024. Everyone said, you're crazy. It can't be done. But once the carpenters, and they decided to redo it by hand the way it was originally done, the carpenters said, yeah, we can do this.
Oh, that's insane.
And there's a 7-minute video on a French news site of one of the carpenters who worked on it. And you can tell it was a big thrill and a big honor for him to work on it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Or should I say insane? Yeah, that happened.
Good job, Corey. But no, the outside at least will look
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
authentic for the Olympics, and then by the end of the year, they hope to open up the inside.
And doing it by hand.
Wow.
That's
by hand.
that's just crazy.
Yep.
You know, it used to, well, it still does kind of blow my mind how much can be built if you have enough people and resources.
Yeah.
Like if you guys haven't seen the Line project yet, that is mind blowing. Have you seen the Line
Mm-mm.
in the Middle East?
No.
They're building, it's close to a 100-mile long city that's just a line. So it has 2 walls and then a city built between it
Are
in
they
the middle.
calling it Vegas?
Dude, it's insane. You need to look it up.
Or
There's,
Branson.
I think there's a prince that's backing it who's worth, trillions of dollars.
That just doesn't seem.
They've already started building it. So it's going from like one of the ports just out into the desert and it's like a mirrored wall on the side and mirrored wall on the other side, and then there's like a futuristic city that you're not going to have to leave in the middle.
I don't like that.
It's like you should see some of the stuff. It's crazy. I showed my kids in my CS1 class. It'd been a couple months ago.
What if you're at work,
It's just crazy.
but then you have
Well, do you work in something like this?
but then you have a doctor's appointment on the other end of the city?
Like, how does the doctor not just come to you? Like the picture I saw had flying cars.
The Jetsons had flying cars.
That's true. That's an alternate universe.
And Doc Brown had a DeLorean that could travel through
If
time.
you keep it under 88, you're fine. It gets a little chintzy after that. Mr. Williams, you're kind of a traveler yourself, from what I hear. What are your interests when it comes to travel?
Back in 2016, my wife and I, we watched Ken Burns National Parks.
Oh, I love Ken Burns.
and,
Yeah.
Love that. And 2016 was the centennial of the national park system. So we decided, even though we had been to national parks before, and even when I was younger, but we decided to start just visiting as many as we can.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
our bucket list is basically to visit them all.
Oh, wow.
We are. We just visited over spring break our 37th park. There are 63 right now.
Well, so you're on your way.
Yeah, so we're getting close, but it's also getting more difficult now because the parks that we have left on the east, there's Virgin Islands National Park, and that involves a lot of flying, and then a boat, and then another boat, and so forth. And then we're going out west. So we've got really from state of Washington, Oregon, all the way down to California.
Oh, wow.
And then beyond there, Hawaii and Alaska, and I think American Samoa, there's one there too. So it's going to be more difficult now. I think we've kind of probably driven our last national park. It's going to be flying and maybe renting a camper van or something like that from here on out.
What a fun trip, though.
But we just love it so much. I was lucky enough to grow up with parents who thought it was important to go, travel around this country.
Sure.
And often it was not just like going to, say, Rocky Mountain National Park or Great Smoky Mountain, but it was also stops along the way. We would often, instead of just driving straight through, we would take several days to get there. We would stop at other, like Harry Truman's Library in Independence.
Yeah.
Or, Dwight Eisenhower's library in Abilene, Kansas, and so forth. We would find little interesting places, and so I grew up loving travel, but also history as well. And so my wife and I are making plans right now for the next trip.
Oh, that's exciting.
We're so close to so many of them around in the Midwest, and I think living in Indiana, you can go in all different directions and find most of them within a day's drive.
Sure.
Too. Indiana Dunes, obviously.
It's a fun one.
Gateway Arch, which we kind of quibbled about whether that could be considered a national park or not, but
It's a nice tourist attraction.
yeah. Mammoth Cave,
Gorgeous.
is great. Isle Royal, which is off the UP in Michigan.
Okay.
Again, that's kind of a difficult one because you got to go by boat across or a plane.
But that sounds like fun, though. Going
Yeah.
on a boat.
Oh yeah. Voyagers, which is up in Minnesota. Cuyahoga in Ohio.
Yeah.
So that's not too far. Great Smoky Mountain, is 6-7 hours away probably.
Breathtaking views, though. Pretty amazing when you get to the top. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
So that has been, that's been kind of our life now for a while, just going to national parks. I am old enough now to have a senior pass, so I think it was like $85
That's
or
huge,
something,
yeah.
and it's for the rest of my life too,
Yep.
and I just love flashing that thing.
That's so awesome.
Well, in addition to the 63 parks, there are also I think it's 429 national historic sites as well.
Yeah.
So when you're going to a park, stop off at the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
or the Homestead National Historic Park in Nebraska, the site of the first homestead when the government started giving land out
Yep.
to people. The Minuteman missile silo in South Dakota,
Really?
where people during the Cold War, where soldiers would be down there with their finger on the button,
Wow.
living underground and waiting. I mean that's right
Incredible.
down the road from the Badlands and from Custer State Park, which is a great state park too, and Mount Rushmore,
Sure.
Crazy Horse,
Yeah.
So
That's
we just we love it.
Have you gotten your stamp book?
Yeah, we actually have the passport.
I love
and
the
we have,
passport.
We have
Yep.
stamps. When we get to the park, normally we call it taking care of business.
Yep.
We go in there, we get our passport. My wife usually does that. The times that I was given the task, it either came out like half of it printed or I did it upside down or something. So
Been
she's
there.
the one.
Yep.
She's got the touch. We get a refrigerator magnet.
Yep.
And that often involves a lot of debate and everything. But we have our fridge is covered with all these 37 of them that
Yeah.
we've been to,
That's
plus
awesome.
a few other odds and ends here and there. And then we do as much hiking and scenic drives and picture taking and everything as we can. We tent camp as much as we can as well. We love that. So yeah, I get on my students about how important travel is. It's one thing about looking at something, a video on your phone, but to have that firsthand experience of going to a location
Yeah.
and seeing it for real,
Yeah.
you just can't beat that. We have some friends, good friends of ours, that every year they took a family vacation to Walt Disney World. That was it. Every year, the same thing, Walt Disney World. Now, I have been to Walt Disney World, numerous
Sure,
occasions.
sure.
And, at Magic Kingdom, happiest place on earth, what I hear anyway. But, we really had to convince them, hey, what about renting a cabin in, say, the Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Gatlinburg area or something like that? Try that for a change.
Yeah.
And they loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's a great vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would stop at the Tennessee Smokies, taking a minor league baseball game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then head down and do what we were going to do.
I have a bit of trivia for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's
go
hear
ahead.
On this day in 2000, U.S. President Bill Clinton established the Giant Sequoia National Monument, a preserve near Sequoia National Park, covering more than 500 square miles of Sequoia National Forest in the Sierra Nevada of California. So
Wow.
put that on your list.
That's kind of cool.
Have you
So-
visited the Sequoia National Park?
No, that is, we're looking into one of our next trips going down there. We try to get parks that are somewhat, in drivable distance.
Yeah,
so
you can
we
get a
knock
cluster.
a few
Yeah.
of them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It helps.
We're talking Christmas time about maybe going to Death Valley,
Oh,
which, you don't want to go in the summer,
no,
obviously. But,
doesn't sound like a fun idea.
but we're thinking about maybe trying to get away for several days there and do that. So yeah,
Well, it makes me wonder, like, you've seen 30 some of them already.
Mm-hmm.
What stands out as probably the most impressive And then
Oh,
what is
wow.
probably the least impressive, or something you think that they could have done better, or the government needs to put more money into, or any of that? Because
Is
that's,
this a loaded question?
well, the preservation of them is really important,
Yeah,
right? And I've
yeah.
been on a bunch of trails where the trail's falling apart, or
Well, also, there's a big push right now on solar energy.
yeah, yeah.
And here in this area, there's a lot of farmland that's being lost to solar energy.
Well, and I'll tell you why this is a loaded question, Stock.
Okay.
We a couple summers in a row, we did the Civil War trip. So we started down south one time, and then we worked our way up through Pennsylvania and back, and then we did the reverse of that the next year. We saw dozens and dozens of battlefields, and what Mr. Williams was saying about you have to see it in person. You can read as
Right.
many books on Gettysburg as you want, but unless you're standing there on the orchard,
Mhm.
and you're realizing like, oh my gosh, so many hundreds of people lost their lives right here on this battlefield.
Right.
Or if you're in Antietam and you hear about how they leveled an entire cornfield, with just bullets.
Right.
Unless you see that cornfield and you're like, oh my goodness, Indiana people were mowed down here,
Mhm.
to preserve this country. Because that's what it was. The Union was trying to preserve the country. There's another impact that you get. And I think it's really cool that the kids used to go to Gettysburg and do that trip.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of where I lay on this is some of these places. We went to a place it was in South Carolina, and it's just a site. It's a old battlefield site where it was the South was retreating and the North was following them. There's still lead balls in the trees,
Mhm.
really high in the trees from where they've grown. But like it's being lost.
Mhm.
Like there were encampments there, there were trenches dug and all this kind of stuff, and it's grown over. It's completely grown over. The only thing there now is a sign.
Yeah.
And unless we had talked to the locals, we wouldn't have known this was a historical site, which is kind of sad. And I see that more and more to where either there's not enough money put into it, or there's not enough, well, it leads to resources or people that are willing to put effort into it. And even with the Civil War battle sites, it's really neat because some places have guides that are so invested in the job that they will give you like this really cool, like we had them on camera. We had a guy, hey, what happened with, this house during the battle? And he's like, oh, well, this is the family that lived here. And he's like super excited to talk to us. And then you have people that they're doing a job, which whatever. But you just get more invested with the people who are going hard into it. And I don't know if you'd witnessed that as well. And if you had like a favorite and then one that probably needs some improvement.
So like a park?
Sure. Or
Basically?
it can be any. So you can do national, you can do state, you can do a historical place.
Favorite park for me, I think, and it's really hard. It's like picking your favorite child.
Oh, sure.
Because they're all so different. But I think Bryce Canyon in Utah, because it's a little smaller, the crowds aren't out of control, but it also has like the old-fashioned, like the really dark log buildings that seem like it's from Yogi Bear kind of
Oh, that's
that
cool.
look there. And they have a shuttle service that kind of takes you around places, and they just had it all together. Plus the walk, the hikes, the hoodoos, all of those things that they have there, just absolutely beautiful. But it's very doable. That is a favorite that.
Oh yeah.
One that, well, we went to Yellowstone last summer, and Yellowstone, extremely popular. Everyone goes there. They're starting to do the timed entry and the lottery kind of thing because 2016 and then later on with COVID, the national parks, interest in the national parks just ballooned. And you want people to go there to appreciate this, but now it's out of control. I mean, there are just too many humans.
Sure.
And there are like dumb tourists who try to get close to the bison and the
That's just
moose
a bad
and everything.
idea.
Turons, as they're known. So the people is is a real problem. Just too many
Yeah.
people. Yellowstone did not have enough restroom facilities. I mean, you would
Oh.
drive for 45 minutes because that's a huge park.
It's a
you
giant
know, and it's
expanse,
kind
yeah.
of like up and down. So if you need to go to, you know, this part of the park, you've got to drive through all of it. And it can take an hour and a half to get from one end to the other, and then you got to turn around and go
Yeah.
back. And there were not enough restrooms there and not enough signage. So Yellowstone, you know, we saw Old Faithful,
Sure.
but just the lack of, I think, facilities there was a real problem.
Yeah, which is
There are
crazy.
some parks that their signage is just, you know, it's so helpful, and you know, it'll say next restroom coming up in 2 miles, and yes, we can make it. You know, the signs, you know where you're going, but
Yeah.
there are some parks that are a little um, disappointing that way. The other thing that I get really upset about is when an area like Indiana dunes,
Yeah, up north. Yep.
that it took, I don't know how many years for the signs to, you know, we like to go in. Another thing we do, ritual, is we go in and we take a picture in front of
Oh,
the
sure.
sign there
Yeah.
before going into the park. And the Indiana dunes can continue to be National Lakeshore for like a year or so before they got. And you'd think the federal government would be able to produce some, you know, at least one major sign that you could take
Yeah.
a picture in front of. I hate to say this, but the Grand Canyon was a little disappointing. And
Yeah.
the reason was a couple of years earlier, I went to my first canyon. It was Dead Horse Canyon State Park in Utah near Canyonlands and Arches. But that was the first like canyon
Yeah.
I had ever really seen as an adult. So when we got to, a couple years later, got to the Grand Canyon, it was like,
Eh.
meh, you know. That surprised me because I thought I would be in awe of that place, but it was almost too big. Like,
You can't get scope and you can't get scale.
Yeah.
Because you look out distance and you can't see anything but what you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't see any like conspiracy theories or giants or holes in the wall or anything like that. That's the fun stuff. Yeah. Also at Dunes, how long did that building take to put up? That one right there by the shore.
Oh.
Stock. I mean, it was the last couple times we went. It was
I've
under
only been there
construction.
once.
Yeah. The last couple times I went, one of the times was with you.
Yeah.
It was under construction. It is finally finished. It was finished at the end of last summer.
Yeah.
But man, that took forever to get up too. Fun. But that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah, and I think that is important for kids as well
Oh,
to
definitely.
get out beyond yourself
Yeah,
and explore. Even if it's just going to state parks and stuff to get an interest for that kind of thing. My uncle Dan, you know Uncle Dan,
Yeah.
he was always the guy. Hey, let's go, you know, down to this historical site and stuff like that. And my dad would go along with it. My mom would go along with it, and then we're very thankful for that because that's something that was instilled in us at a young age. And then, you know, the older you get, you turn into your parents.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where we are now. Is
Yep.
we enjoy that kind of stuff.
I tell my kids, of course, I spent a year in France during college. I encourage them all study abroad at some point. It doesn't have to be in France or a French-speaking country. You can study abroad in England. It can be a year. It can be a semester. But go abroad and live among the natives.
Yeah.
is like a gap year. That's what that's called,
Yeah.
right?
After
Where,
your
you know,
senior
yeah,
year
yeah,
before college.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Heck yeah.
I mean, that was the year that I really learned who I was, and that I'm the youngest in the family. I'm not criticizing my parents, but
You can. Your mom calls me Sasquatch.
but every time I went home for, even sometimes now, I go home for the holidays or something. Oh, can I get you something? Are you hungry? Let me get you something. If I'm thirsty, I can get my own glass of water.
Yeah.
But I know that's their way.
Sure.
But living alone for a year, you realize, hey, I'm a grown up. I can do this.
Yeah. Some days I just still don't realize I'm a grown up. So I did see a meme the other day that said something to that effect. It said, "Looking around for an adult when you realize you are the adult
Yeah.
in the situation." I still run into that kind of stuff. My favorite part of the show, Stock. Do you want to do the speed round?
Let's do a speed round.
Let's do the speed round.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, the pressure's on now.
Looks like he's got notes.
Oh, good.
A few. I
Good.
You know,
They're
this is
not
live.
they're
This
not
is
too
going
bad.
out live.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Okay.
We're gentle.
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. Question number 1. What brought you to Covington?
All right. I retired from District 118 in Danville 3 years ago. And literally during my retirement party, I got a call from Schlarman Academy. Said, we need another English teacher. Would you be able to come back? And I had taught at Schlarman for a couple of years back in the 80s. So it felt like I was going home. And so I was there for 2 years. Last year, the middle of the year, there was some unpleasantness, I guess. We had some administrative issues, and suddenly some colleagues that I had come to really care for a great deal, and we had a great thing going. Suddenly they're like, they're let go one by one, and everything.
Yeah.
And those of us who kind of remain, many of us said to each other, I just don't know whether we can stay here. We're going to have any kind of integrity at all. So I started looking for another position. We live in Cayuga, so we're over in Indiana now anyway. But I applied at North Vermilion and here, and there was one day when I had like 3 jobs. The one that I had in Covington or in Schlarman, and then 2 job offers. And that's nice to be able to have a choice.
Yeah.
In demand.
Mrs. Hardy was just great to talk with, and I just felt like kind of instantly knew that I wanted to try this. And I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm hoping, like at least 5 years, and beyond that, I'm not sure. But, so, and, I also have grandkids in the district, and so we've been over here so much.
That helps.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm familiar with it, but I love it.
Well, welcome on.
Would it surprise you to know that Mrs. Hardy and Craig graduated high school together?
Because I look significantly older than her. Actually, I was her escort for fall homecoming.
Are you kidding me?
Senior year. Well, because Andy played football.
Oh, that's true.
So he couldn't do it.
Okay.
Her husband, Andy. That's high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look back, we're in a little Corvette, a 67 Corvette for the parade. And then I escorted her for halftime of the fall homecoming.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago, Stock.
Long time ago.
That's a minute ago. But yeah, so that might surprise you that we're even within a decade of each other, age-wise.
I think I offended her at like a workshop we had together. It was when we first got the projectors, and we were actually
No, you can't say we. The first time you got the projector.
First time I got the projectors.
Yes.
We were actually next door in that room. John was conducting the class. We had a little break. Katie was sitting right next to me, and she was still in the elementary at that time. And let's face it, Andy had a reputation in high school.
Yes.
Okay. So I asked her, I never thought the two of you would go together. What's that like? And she said, he's got a lot of good qualities that a lot of people don't see.
He does. Yes. He's actually a good dude. He is a very good dude.
Yeah.
And Katie's a lot tougher than people realize from the outside.
Yeah.
So there's that as well.
Okay. Second question. What does Trojan Pride mean to you? We've had this 2-year program to build up Trojan Pride.
Culture fix.
Yeah, the culture fix.
Yeah.
So what does Trojan Pride mean to you?
Well, I have seen Trojan Pride in like the spirit of it, football games, basketball games, because my granddaughters both been cheerleaders and dance team and so forth. And I'd been there in the stands watching games, and I felt that kind of spirited pride there. And of course, hoping now that I'm in the classroom here, hoping that it extends to the classroom, through those core values that, we have prominently displayed everywhere. What I again try to encourage my students that you don't show Trojan pride just every once in a while, but you really push yourself to try to kind of embody it all the time,
Yeah.
to be consistent
Yes.
at it too. So that's kind of the,
It's more a lifestyle than a catchphrase, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Fingers crossed we're getting there.
I see
Okay.
that every time. Yeah.
Question 3 has, we may have already answered this.
Yeah.
Has there been a person or event that impacted your life?
Well, I'm going to split this kind of down the middle.
Okay.
Professionally, I had 5 teachers, 3 of them at Danville High School, 2 of them at Northridge Middle School, that are kind of in the pantheon of great teachers. Joe, John, Joyce, Georgia, and Joy. And I don't know why all 5 of them have J names, but every time I go into the classroom, I take them with me. I mean, they are there, and as just role models, they were mentors, and I strive to be or take the best of them and make that a part of who I am.
Yeah.
So professionally, those people help shape my life in the classroom. But personally, losing Reagan, because our lives went in such a different direction. And I'm doing things now and talking with people now and traveling places that I never, I never thought I'd ever have to do. And it's a weird thing to say that we have enjoyed many blessings because of that loss.
Yeah.
But, I think we came to acknowledge that, and that's part of the healing that you go through, that you try to find hope with what you have, and the pain. I heard this. It's from. Oh shoot! I'm gonna have a senior moment here. C.S. Lewis. The pain now is part of the happiness then. And he was talking about his wife who died, but that has been kind of my kind of mantra since that time. And it's taught me that life is still wonderful, even though bad things happen. That you have to keep going and live with hope.
Yeah.
There are some people who have tragedy happen, and they never seem to get past that point.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think?
I don't know if they have the right people to talk with. There's not a set kind of way that you grieve. Grief doesn't have to last a certain amount of time. There's still days, there's still things even now after all this time that will set me off. I'm not prepared for it, not ready for it. It doesn't have anything to do with, but the tears will come. I mean, they're there. And I think just having people that you can talk to about it and know that your experience is probably what other people have experienced as well, but that there are no rules as far as grieving goes. I think that's it. Having something. I will add that some people turn to religion. They pray. Some people turn to music. I had that outlet of being able to write the journal to Reagan and to express myself in written form. And I don't think if I had not had that ability, I don't know, how I would have channeled all that. Would it have come out in despair, rage, or whatever. But,
Yeah, manifest differently.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. This is the question Craig likes. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I really went over this in my head.
It takes a while.
And originally, I thought I'll do the 50 duck-sized horses because they're smaller than me. I am not. I get I don't like basketball. I never liked playing basketball because I'm shorter than the basket. I feel intimidated. But then I started thinking about the one horse-sized duck. If you, it's like the Barbie thing that, the dimensions of Barbie, a woman with the dimensions of Barbie could not have survived on those tiny feet and the really long legs and everything like that. I think the duck would just have to sit there because of the strain of the weight on it and everything. So I think I'm probably going with the horse-sized duck. Plus, the 50 little ducks would be extremely strong.
Oh,
and,
yeah. You get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
No, you just kick
Or
them.
duck-sized horse. Yeah.
You said you just kicked them.
I still would choose the duck-sized horses.
Would you really?
I would.
You're going to get stampeded.
I do like your thought process on the dynamics of it, though.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
great.
mean, that's a
Okay.
That's a side
I'll
I hadn't
have to
thought of.
I'll have to be honest. I did kind of look up some of the science involved in this. My first reaction, though, when I read that question was the Marx Brothers, why a duck? I don't know whether that will mean anything to you or not, but
Oh, yes.
you
That's
might be our
fantastic.
most intelligent.
why a duck?
guest.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, finally.
Well, if you want to take the intelligence down, you can ask season 1's question. The sock.
Sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, sock, shoe?
Oh, there was a great episode of All in the Family where Mike and Archie argue about this thing. I am a sock and a sock and a shoe and a shoe.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I know, if it's snowy or wet outside, if you put a sock in a shoe, you can at least, keep the other foot up and everything. But no, I'm a sock and a sock and a shoe.
Okay.
And a shoe, yeah.
Extension question.
Okay.
Is it pants, sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, sock, pants, shoe, shoe?
That, for me, depends on whether my pants are like skinny leg, or not. Because if I put my pants on, but I can't get my socks under there. Yeah, so that kind of
Depends
that
on the
goes back and
style.
forth.
I like
Depends
that.
on the style of the pants.
It's
yeah.
always socks first. You don't want your toes getting caught in the hem.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, last question.
All right.
What would you like your legacy to be at CHS?
Well, CMS. But
Or,
yes.
or CMS,
Yep.
or
Just
if
in
you
general.
want, or if you want in life.
Okay. I think that I showed strength through calm and thoughtfulness. Over the years, I've had students who got so frustrated with me because they did everything they could to push my buttons, and I still remain calm. It's like, Mr. Williams, what is wrong with you? I just called you a this or that, and you're just like, that I taught students, not just subjects. That's something that I kind of learned the older I got, that, I used to be all about teaching the subject, but then I realized you had to reach out and teach the student and where the student was and so forth. That I challenge them my students sometimes to make real world connections, because I'm all about that, the making the connections between this fact and that fact. And that hopefully in later years, if they didn't get what I was trying to teach them, like in the 8th grade, that eventually when they're sophomores or seniors or something like that, they go, now I get it, you know. That's kind of the legacy that I would like to be remembered.
Sometimes it takes 20 years for that to happen.
Yeah.
That's good. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
responding to Peggy right now.
Oh, is she there?
Yes.
Hi, Peggy. Do you know
Yes.
Peggy in the cafeteria?
I do not go in the cafeteria,
Yeah.
so I might have met her
Okay.
at some point, but
Yeah.
She's our biggest fan.
oh, okay.
Yeah, Peggy's in the chat right now. She said she loved your answers, by the way. So, well, we'll close it down, Stock.
Okay.
Anything we want to mention before we go? I do want to say that it's prom week.
Prom's coming up.
Chaos in the high school. You're lucky you're not in the hallways this week up here, Mr. Williams. It is chaos. Kids getting ready for prom, talking about prom, getting ready for after prom. They're going to shut down the NPR at 1:45 on Friday, and the varsity gym sometime Thursday or Friday. I just talked to Sarah Rayleigh, who's getting that stuff put together. After prom sounds really fun, or post prom, whatever you want to call it. Sounds really fun, guys. I don't think you have to go to prom in order to go to post prom. If you're a junior or senior at Covington High School, I think you can go.
Still talk to the office.
Talk to the office. There is also a waiver for bull riding.
Yeah.
So if you want to ride the bull,
Electronic bowl.
yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. It is a fun time. I will be at both, so I'll be at prom for a little bit, taking pictures, talking to Stock, and then I will be at post prom as well.
Oh yeah, prom. I'll be at prom.
You'll be at prom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not after prom.
You told me you were going to be at prom.
I'll be at
You
prom.
better be
Not
at
after
prom. I'm
prom.
not going to stand there by myself.
Give me the camera. Give me the camera.
You got the camera.
Okay, I've got this to say. We were talking about child abuse. There's also domestic violence, all of this. This goes for anyone going to prom. If you are uncomfortable in any situation and you can't see a way out, you can call any one of your teachers, call the police.
Come up to Stock and I.
Yeah, come up to Stock and I. There's help available.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed. You need to be safe.
No, and maybe well, because that's the number one priority, right? Is
Yeah.
the kids.
Yeah.
It's cool to have a great fun time. It's also way cooler to be safe while you're doing it.
Exactly.
Anything else, Doc, that you want to point out before we head out?
We might have our first home baseball game tomorrow. Every other time.
Oh my gosh, has it been that? You haven't had a home
rained
game?
out. It's been rained out every single
that's
time.
fair. The Attica game got rained out, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Prom, end of year's coming up. We've got senior awards in early May, and then baccalaureate graduation.
27 days left? Question mark? Something like that.
It's not long.
It's coming down to it.
It's not long.
The graduation setup is not against the north wall like it should be yet, but one of these days we'll talk Miss Davis into it.
That's a losing battle.
I
Craig.
know it is. I just give her a hard time every year now. Stopped her in the office before school the other day. Anything else
Not
for the good of the order, Mr. Williams? Anything you want to say before we head out?
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Hey, what a fun talk today,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
What a great time. I'm glad if everybody got to see the show. We'll see you on the back end. If you haven't, we're going to post those resources and get this out as much as we can. It'll be on the CHS 247 Facebook page, promoted as well. And we'll see if KISS can get a hold of it and kind of push it as well.
Yeah.
See if Greg over at KISS can help us out. Last thing I want to mention, Maryland's Village was open officially today. If you want to go down and get a meal, it's $9 for a sandwich, chips, a pop, and a delicious piece of pie. Stock's favorite is the cherry.
Cherry is delicious.
The cherry rhubarb is the strawberry rhubarb is very good. The cream pie is fantastic. Other than that, support local. We're glad you guys have been here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks.